going to do a fabulous job up here. He has his own consulting business. He is also with LMI, Leadership Management Institute. I got that right. So thank you. So I'm going to have him tell you a little bit about that and what he does, and then we're going to go into our topic of how to use social media and viral marketing. Does everyone know what viral marketing is? Okay, very few people. I didn't know either. I'd had to ask the first time I heard the term. So they're going to explain that and how to use it effectively to get the word out.
And thank you. By the way, do you know Susan Fortner? Susan, stand up. This is Susan. Okay. That wasn't very long, Susan. This is where we get to do a little bit of our USP, right? Our sales pitch on what we're doing. Hi, Susan and I are co-hosting a show that debuts on Friday on NBC4 at 12:30 p.m., right after the new news called We Decorate Columbus. All right, so those of you are going, I'm going to have to DVR that or I'm going to watch in person. Yes, please, just getting started. And it's a great local venture and just one of those things that we are excited about doing. So I had to tell you about that. We were also talking earlier about, okay, and so we need to take some steps so that on Facebook and on LinkedIn and that we're tweeting about, and so we're using that to make sure that people know what we're doing. That's the essence of what we're going to get to share with you today. And Bill had a great analogy just a second ago. The way this is going to work, we're going to do this together. He's the play-by-play guy, I'm the color guy. So you follow the analogy there? Here it is. Here's Bill.
All right, we'll start the play-by-play. Okay, and I noticed at the end of the last session a lot of questions came on blogging and Twitter and LinkedIn, and it seemed to be something everybody has a lot of interest in. Can I see a show of hands how many people currently use LinkedIn? Great. All right, and Facebook? Okay, good. Twitter? And how many people write a blog? This is great. I was telling Ken, I've been talking about social media for about 10 years now, and it's funny, over the years, you know, you saw a few hands go up 5 years ago and a few more 4 years ago and 3 years ago, and now when you talk about these topics, a lot of hands go up. And I think, you know, the difference between what we were talking about 2 years ago was trying to convince people that decision makers and buying decisions were made on social media. Today, it's more about how do I get involved and how do I measure the ROI. Oh, raise up a little bit here. Okay, great. So today we're going to talk about personal branding and social media, and I already heard some great discussions in the last session about, you know, what can you put on your Facebook page, and should you be Googling and Facebooking potential applicants, and also keep in mind when people are making decisions whether or not to work with you and your business, they're probably looking you up on social media and trying to find out more about you. The real quick overview on web marketing: we're based here in Columbus. We work with clients across the U.S. and Europe. We work with both large international corporations, but we also work with small businesses and startups and single-owner businesses. And in fact, I was told before this that someone's seen a previous presentation I did where we talked about, you know, how one small business owner had some great success with viral marketing. So we'll jump into that a little bit too and give some concrete examples. So first we're going to define personal branding. Again, we've been here talking about this all day today, but it's specifically with the role of personal branding within social media. And then we're going to talk about how do you use social media as an extension of your brand. Right before this, someone asked me, they said, you know, we know you guys work with clients in New York and clients in California. How do you get a lot of these new clients? And the answer is through social media. You know, there's no geographic boundaries. If someone's looking for a consultant, an agency, someone to work with, and they're using tools like Twitter and LinkedIn and YouTube to find those, you know, you don't have to have feet on the street out there calling on those people. So personal branding. We've talked about elevator pitches today. We've talked about what you can have on your Facebook page. It's okay to have, you know, a picture of yourself having a drink at a bar or a party. And I think one of the decisions that you have to make is when you've defined your personal brand, when you've defined your elevator pitch, making sure that it's consistent with your presence on social media profile. So you talk about the picture that you have for Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook. Is that all consistent with the description that you all wrote down when you talked about your elevator pitch? If you're talking about, you know, one description and you're showing something very differently in your pictures and your profiles and your keywords, you're going to have a lot of inconsistent messaging. Is it okay to have some fun, goofy, viral, personal stuff? Absolutely. You know, depending upon your industry. If you're a banker, probably not. But we've talked about, we'll share some examples of cases where it's okay to have something edgy or fun or a little bit more personal. We're going to talk a little bit about some local branded folks here. And we're going to start with Andrea Camburn. And I think there's probably some words that we all think of when we think of Andrea Camburn. We think about health, right away. If you've ever seen her speak, you know, she always talks about personal fitness. She talks about community events. She talks about things related to cancer survivors. She talks about the Race for the Cure. She talks about the Commit to Be Fit 5K. There's certain brand things we associate with her. When you see her picture, when you read her bio, when you see her tweets, you see she has 4,000 followers on Twitter. You can see just kind of the tweet stream here. She's talking about news. She's talking about her co-anchors. She's interacting with her followers. And these are all things that are very, very consistent with her, with the brand that you would get if you saw her speak in person, if you met her in person, if you talked to her on the phone, if you see her on the news, or if you see her on social media. And I guess this is probably a good break here to get some kind of the color commentary in terms of the importance of keeping consistency with streams like Twitter.
And one of the things that Bill and I talked about was that I said, hey, just confession, as we talk about this, I'm not using Twitter very much to promote my brand and haven't been very effective at it. One of the things that even was mentioned, I think, Marcy, a moment ago, was you've got to be conscious of how much time you put in, right? Now, a tweet, pretty short. But do you see what's happening here? 5:08 p.m., 5:14 p.m., 5:23 p.m. Pretty regular occurrence for her. Boy, I don't know if that would fall into what I would call high payoff activities for me. And Bill, you probably need to educate me a little bit more on this. But there's a way to use this, even if I decide these are the times of day when I'm going to tweet, to make it effective. And what I saw here, what's Andrea doing right there? What is she doing while she's tweeting? She's on the anchor desk. Did you notice that? During the 5 o'clock news, while she's doing the 5 o'clock news, she's saying, this is what's happening on my, because she's promoting what she's doing right then, right? So you may be in the same camp as I am. Maybe you've got it figured out. I want to learn from you. In what I'm doing now, I got to figure out how to really make that effective for me. I get the concept. What am I doing to put it in place? So far for me, not much.
Great. And I think that I have two great examples for that. One, we've got two very different clients. They're both large organizations, but one was trying to influence the healthcare debate. You know, during the midst of healthcare reform and discussions, they're a large payer, insurance company, and basically they found out they could be tweeting 8 or 10 or 12 times a day, and they still got more followers, and they still got reporters calling them, and they still got on the news, and they still got more supporters and people signing their petitions and visiting their website, and they couldn't tweet too much because there was so much going on with healthcare reform. We have another client that sells to chief technology officers at Fortune 100 companies, and they tweet probably 2 or 3 times a week about something about cloud computing or server virtualization, because that's not something where if you were talking 8 or 10 times a day about that, no one's going to care, no one's going to want to be engaged in that conversation. So I think a lot of it is understanding where the tolerance is for the topic that you're doing. And you know, some brands, you see, for example, companies like Whole Foods is a great example. A lot of their marketing strategies now shifted to social media. And they know there are tweets all day long coming out of Whole Foods about products and about organic foods and about the advantage of eating natural foods. That's driving people into the stores versus someone that's selling servers to CTOs, for example.
And I think you could probably help answer one of the questions. I started in tweeting, and I had some out there, but then wasn't consistent. How much of a negative is that for you to do some, but not much, to get started? And you know, we just talked about consistency a moment ago.
Right. I think that's probably one of the top 3 mistakes that people make, and it's just, you know, the analogy I use. So let's say that